Harrison Ford destroyed the perfect action hero and created every action movie you've ever loved. Before Ford, heroes never missed a punch, never showed fear, and always looked perfect doing it. Then Han Solo showed up, a criminal who didn't want to save the galaxy and openly mocked the Force. That one character changed everything. Ford proved that flawed, scared, funny heroes were more interesting than invincible supermen, and every action star since has followed his template. The story you're about to hear shows how one actor's refusal to be heroic revolutionized what heroism means in movies. The old world of perfect heroes. Let's start in 1977, when action heroes were basically gods walking among mortals. Picture the typical action star of the 1970s. Perfectly muscled, never afraid, always in control. They spoke in complete sentences, stood up straight, and solved problems with their fists. These heroes were fantasies. They represented what men wished they could be, not what they actually were. They were Superman in different costumes. Sean Connery's James Bond never sweated.
Bond. James Bond.
Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name never showed doubt.
Get 3 coffins ready.
Charles Bronson's vigilantes never questioned their actions.
You sure you're free? What else would I be doing?
Audiences loved these characters, but they couldn't relate to them. They were too perfect, too confident, too removed from real human experience. Then Harrison Ford showed up and broke every rule in the book. The reluctant revolutionary. Ford has said he was never interested in playing heroes and didn't want unvarnished good guys. He insisted on characters with complications, doubt, and rough edges. This wasn't just an acting choice, it was a philosophy that went against everything Hollywood believed about action movies. Studios wanted Ford to be another perfect hero. He refused. They wanted him to be invincible. He chose to be vulnerable. They wanted him to always win easily. He made winning look hard. Ford understood something that other actors missed. Real people aren't perfect, so perfect heroes feel fake. The Han Solo Revolution, May 25th, 1977. Star Wars opens and introduces the world to Han Solo, a character who would change action movies forever. But here's what made Han different from every space hero who came before him. He was a criminal. Most sci-fi heroes of the 1970s were noble, duty-driven champions like Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers. They embraced their missions and believed in their causes. Han Solo was a smuggler with debts, enemies, and a bad attitude. He didn't want to save the galaxy. He wanted to get paid and get out. When Obi-Wan talks about the Force, Han calls it simple tricks and nonsense. When Luke wants to rescue Princess Leia, Han only agrees because there might be a reward. This was revolutionary. Ford had created an action hero who was openly skeptical of the very adventure he was starring in. But the genius of Han Solo wasn't just his cynicism. It was his journey from selfish smuggler to reluctant hero. Audiences got to watch him become heroic instead of just accepting that he already was. The Indiana Jones template. June 12th, 1981. Raiders of the Lost Ark premieres and Ford creates his most influential character, Indiana Jones. On paper, Indy should have been another perfect hero. He's a brilliant archaeologist, skilled fighter, and globe-trotting adventurer. But Ford made him human in ways that changed action movies forever. Indiana Jones is terrified of snakes. He gets hurt in every fight. He improvises his way out of trouble instead of having everything planned. He's constantly exhausted, bleeding, and barely surviving. The famous scene where Indy shoots the swordsman wasn't originally in the script. Ford was sick with dysentery and couldn't film the elaborate fight scene, so he suggested just shooting the guy instead. That moment became iconic because it showed a hero taking the easy way out. Instead of proving his fighting skills, Indy proved his intelligence and practicality. This was the opposite of traditional action heroes who always chose the hardest path to prove their superiority. The vulnerability factor. Here's what Ford understood that other action stars didn't. Vulnerability makes heroes more heroic, not less. When Superman saves the day, it's expected he's invincible. Of course he wins. When Indiana Jones saves the day, it's miraculous. He's been beaten up, scared, and nearly killed. His victory feels earned because we've seen how much it cost him. Ford's characters routinely show fear, panic, and uncertainty. They miss punches, get winded, and make mistakes. Critics noted that his fight scenes have an awkwardness that fits the everyman vibe instead of balletic martial arts. This wasn't bad filmmaking, it was revolutionary character development. The Blade Runner experiment. June 25th, 1982. Blade Runner takes Ford's everyman hero concept to its darkest extreme. Rick Deckard is a tired, morally compromised detective who's often outmatched by the replicants he's hunting. He questions his own nature and ethics throughout the film. Traditional action heroes never doubt themselves. They know they're the good guys fighting the bad guys. Deckard isn't sure if he's even human. He's definitely not sure if what he's doing is right. This moral ambiguity was unprecedented in action movies. Ford had created a hero who might actually be the villain of his own story. The Witness Transformation. February 8th, 1985. Witness shows Ford's most complete rejection of traditional heroism. John Book is a tough Philadelphia cop, but when he's forced to hide among the Amish, everything that makes him heroic becomes useless. His gun can't solve problems in a pacifist community. His aggressive attitude clashes with their peaceful ways. His urban skills mean nothing in rural Pennsylvania. Ford plays Book as a man who's genuinely uncomfortable and out of place. He's not adapting easily or showing natural leadership. He's struggling to fit in and learning to be a different kind of person. This was radical, an action hero who had to abandon his heroic traits to become truly heroic. The Fugitive's Everyman. August 6th, 1993. The Fugitive proves that Ford's everyman approach works even in pure action thrillers. Dr. Richard Kimball isn't a trained fighter or secret agent. He's a surgeon who's been framed for murder. He survives through intelligence, desperation, and sheer stubbornness. The famous dam jump scene shows Ford's approach perfectly. Kimball doesn't jump because he's brave. He jumps because he's terrified and has no other choice. Traditional action heroes make impossible escapes look easy. Ford makes them look terrifying and desperate. When Kimball finally confronts the real villains, he's not seeking revenge or proving his superiority. He's just trying to clear his name and survive. The Presidential Everyman, July 25th, 1997. Air Force One takes Ford's everyman concept to its logical extreme. What if the President of the United States was just a regular guy in an impossible situation? President James Marshall isn't a superhero or secret agent. He's a family man and politician who gets his ass handed to him by terrorists. Ford plays Marshall as physically outmatched but morally determined. He wins through grit and improvisation, not superior fighting skills or perfect planning. The movie's most famous line, "Get off my plane!" works because it sounds like something a real person would say, not a scripted action hero catchphrase. The anti-Stallone. Ford's impact becomes clearest when you compare him to his contemporaries. While Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were building careers on invulnerable, hard-body heroes, Ford was doing the opposite. Stallone's Rocky and Rambo could absorb incredible punishment and keep fighting. Schwarzenegger's Terminator and Conan were literally unstoppable forces. Ford's characters got tired, scared, and hurt. They won through intelligence and determination, not superior firepower or physical dominance. Film scholars explicitly contrast Ford's tempered machismo with the hyper-muscled nationalism of Reagan-era action stars. Ford's heroes still tapped into themes of American power and exploration, but they undercut that with self-doubt, moral conflict, and occasional cowardice. The ripple effect. Ford's influence on action movies is everywhere once you know what to look for. The reluctant, sarcastic, but basically decent hero template shows up in countless characters after Han and Indy. From wisecracking space rogues to world-weary detectives, Ford's DNA is in most modern action heroes. John McClane in Die Hard is basically Indiana Jones in a skyscraper. He's scared, outgunned, and barely surviving. He wins through improvisation and stubbornness, not superior skills. Tony Stark in Iron Man starts as a cynical arms dealer who becomes a reluctant hero. His journey mirrors Han Solo's arc from selfish to heroic. Even James Bond evolved to include Ford's influence. Daniel Craig's Bond shows vulnerability, makes mistakes, and questions his mission in ways that Sean Connery's Bond never did. The aging hero. Ford's later career proves the lasting power of his everyman approach. As he's gotten older, his characters have become even more vulnerable and human. In The Fugitive, he's a middle-aged doctor. In Air Force One, he's a politician, not a warrior. His aging roles keep the same core elements. Vulnerability increases, bodies fail, but moral stubbornness and intelligence remain central. This matches newer notions of masculine heroism that embrace fragility rather than hiding it. The secret formula. Here's what Ford understood that changed everything. Audiences don't want to watch perfect people succeed. They want to watch imperfect people overcome their limitations. Ford's heroes succeed despite their flaws, not because they don't have any. They're brave despite being scared, not because they're fearless. This creates emotional investment that perfect heroes can't match. When Han Solo finally says, "I love you" to Leia, it matters because we've watched him struggle with emotional intimacy. When Indiana Jones faces his fear of snakes, it's heroic because we know how terrified he is. The modern legacy. Today's action heroes all follow Ford's template whether they realize it or not. Chris Evans's Captain America shows doubt and moral conflict. Chris Pratt's Star-Lord is basically Han Solo with a Walkman. Even superhero movies now emphasize character flaws and emotional vulnerability. The Marvel Cinematic Universe's success is built on Ford's innovation. Heroes who are funny, flawed, and relatable despite their extraordinary circumstances. The hidden truth. But here's the detail that changes everything about Ford's impact on action movies. He didn't just create a new type of hero, he created a new relationship between heroes and audiences. Before Ford, audiences watched action heroes from a distance. They admired them, but couldn't identify with them. Ford's heroes invited identification. Audiences could imagine themselves in these situations because the heroes reacted like real people would. This emotional connection made action movies more than just spectacle. They became stories about ordinary people rising to extraordinary challenges. The final revelation. The most important thing Harrison Ford did wasn't create memorable characters or star in successful movies. He proved that vulnerability is strength, that imperfection is more interesting than perfection, and that the best heroes are the ones who don't want to be heroes at all. Ford took the fantasy out of action heroes and replaced it with humanity. He showed that you don't need to be Superman to be super. Every time you watch an action movie where the hero gets scared, makes mistakes, or shows doubt, you're seeing Harrison Ford's influence. He didn't just change what action heroes look like, he changed what they mean. The man who never wanted to play heroes ended up creating the template for every hero who came after him. And the best part? He did it by refusing to be heroic in all the ways Hollywood expected. Harrison Ford's transformation of the action hero teaches us something profound about storytelling and human nature. And he understood that audiences don't want to worship perfect beings. They want to see themselves reflected in the characters they love. Ford's heroes aren't aspirational fantasies, they're inspirational realities. They show us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when circumstances demand it. This revolution didn't happen overnight. It took decades for Ford's influence to fully reshape action movies. But once it did, there was no going back. Today, we take vulnerable, flawed action heroes for granted. We expect them to be funny, scared, and human. We want them to earn their victories through struggle rather than inherit them through superiority. That's all Harrison Ford's doing. He took the action hero down from Mount Olympus and put him in the seat next to us on the airplane. He made heroes human, and in doing so, he made heroism accessible to everyone. And the next time you watch an action movie where the hero gets hurt, shows fear, or cracks a joke in the face of danger, remember, you're watching the legacy of a man who refused to be the hero Hollywood wanted him to be. Instead, he became the hero we all needed him to be. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more film lore.